As we continue our countdown to Christmas, I try to remain aware that Christmas is not the only holiday being celebrated this time of year. There are many cultures, many religions, many different systems of belief, and lots of different holidays that people celebrate during the midwinter season. And one of the viewers has suggested making a menorah in recognition of the fact that it is Hanukkah right now. Now, I'm a little bit late. A menorah is something you really should have when Hanukkah starts, and this is going to probably post on the second to the last day of the Hanukkah season, but we're going to do it anyways. And one of the reasons I resisted doing a menorah has nothing to do with religious implications, but rather I was a little uneducated, and I always thought the classic menorah with the tall central candle and the 4 outstretched arms on each side to hold the 9 candles was what it had to be. I thought that was not just the classic version, but what was really expected. And after communicating back and forth with this particular viewer, I realized that is not the case. The actual requirements are quite few, that there's 9 candles and one of those candles be much taller than the others. It doesn't need to be the central candle. I did a lot of looking online, and I actually and found all sorts of different menorahs. That classic version is certainly the most common, but there was quite a few where the tall server candle was at one end or the other. Heck, there was even one of them that was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm not sure what the significance of that was. So anyways, that opens up a lot of new doors. The other misconception I had about a menorah is that I assumed the candles were the classic 3/4 inch tapered candle, which means I'd need to forge 9 candle cups, which starts to be a really long video and a longer production time. It turns out the standard menorah candle is really only about 5/16 of an inch in diameter, and that's much more doable. We don't actually need to make candle cups to hold those. So I'm going to start off with a piece of 3/4 by 1 inch flat bar. This is another one of those things that was just laying out by the saw. I'd cut something off to make something, and this is what's left. It is 18.5 inches long. I don't think that length matters. It looks like there's plenty of leeway to do some interesting things. And we're going to make the menorah solely out of this 1 bar, and we're going to put the 5/16 holes in this. The first thing I want to do is bend one corner up so that we have that place for the taller candle. And then we'll shape the rest of this and punch all the holes to hold the candles. So let's go to the forge, let's get this hot, and let's make a menorah. Now to bend this one end up, I actually want to bend it up the hard way. So I'm going to put the 1 inch dimension up. So we're bending the 1 inch way instead of the 3/4 inch way. But we should be able to do that just fine by sticking it in the hardy hole, bending it to nearly 90 degrees, and then we can work on the upset corner. This is going to take a few heats. I don't know that this needs a perfect 90, but the closer we can get to 90, the better off we'll be. This auxiliary block I've got over here next to the anvil really helps with this kind of stuff. But no matter how you do it, this will be a fair amount of work. And again, this is just what I chose to do, not what I think you have to do. I have to straighten that back out again. Or I should say, straighten the overbend out. Try and get it back closer to 90. It's really looking a lot like what I want it to. I think one more heat and we'll be there. This wouldn't be a bad thing to use a torch on. You get a very precise heat right near the corner. But I think we are there. I'm going to go ahead and bevel the edges just a little bit, just for looks. Now I'll worry about creating the candle holder part of that in another step later. Right now I just want to clean it up so it looks neat and clean. Now what to do at the other end? Now to somewhat mimic the up kick that this has, but without it being another candle holder, I think I'm going to flare this end into kind of a one-sided fishtail, and then we'll scroll it up. So for that I'm going to start with this big diagonal peen hammer. So I can spread this widthwise. Now, to be completely honest, I would typically do this under a power hammer, and it would be almost done by now. I think that can be a lot thinner. Because that spreads both ways, and I can then come in here and offset it to one side. I'll clean that up with a rounding hammer, but that's really all I need to do. So I can kind of smooth this up. And I also need to try to clean this little lump there up. That's pretty much what I'm after. I think before I scroll this up, I'm going to go ahead and trim this so that it is straight across here. I think it'll be a better little scroll. Just an odd place on there. The hold fast doesn't really want to hold. Oh, that's better. Make sure you know where that cutoff goes so it doesn't start a fire. I'm just going to make a nice little scroll out of this. And this should kind of balance the effect of the taller candle socket on the other end. Make sure you work full length of it and keep an eye on how it's scrolling up. Different parts of it are going to behave differently because it's offset like it is. But a couple of heats, we should get a nice little fishtail out of that. Now if you get this one all kinky and lumpy, it's going to be really hard to fix because it's so wide. So stay in control now. I think that's really all we need. You notice this is starting to bend here, and that's exactly what I'm going to want in the long run. I will explain to you what I do want in the long run. Need to let this cool so we can lay out the candle holes. I know that one candle goes right in the center of that. We need 9 candles, so that's 8 spaces in between. This was 16 inches in between. It'd be really easy to figure out. I think we're going to go to the 12-inch mark for the last candle, which of course is right in the center of this hole in my folding ruler. So if my math is correct, that's 1.5 inches between candles. And this melts the wax lead on these silver pencils, leaves a very good mark. This thing isn't super hot, but it's too hot to touch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 holes. Got that right. And I want to center punch each hole. Now there's lots of ways we could do this at this point. Since we know we only need 5/16 holes, we could just drill 5/16 holes. But I've got something a little bit nicer in mind, or something that'll hopefully look better. The center punch marks are just so I can find this again later. And in fact, I will probably deepen the center punch marks hot, just so they're really easy to find later. And I probably will do some drilling on these. It'll just be after the fact to guarantee that they fit, not as a way to create the hole in the first place. So we'll need to get it hot to do this. So what my plan is here, as I say, first I want to deepen the center punch mark so I can index into it really easily. And I want to come in here with a ball punch. I want to create a nice swell and a dimple. And this is all of the wax cup that this is going to get. And try and aim the ball punch. If you're a little off center, you can get this back in line. I think I'll deepen those in another heat. Then I'll show you the next step in the process. Now that I've got my dimples for the little tiny wax cups, I have a punch that is about 1/4 inch on the end, and by the time I'm deep enough to hold a candle, it'll be close to 3/8. So that surrounds that 5/16 typical menorah candle size, and that should fit. So that's all I'm going to do. When we're all done, I'll probably run a drill bit in there just to guarantee they're going to fit. So let's do the rest of them. Whether we have 9 holes punched that should fit the candles. This is kicked up, so I'm going to have to fix that. But other than that, that's most of the hard work done. So we're going to straighten that back out. But then this was probably tippy side to side. So we're going to put a little S-curve. I'm going to curve this around this way, that around that way. So the first thing I want to do is try to bring that scroll back in line. Just whatever technique and tool seems to work. But then I want to go ahead and give this an S bend. I'm going to be careful not to crush my holes. I thought about doing those after and decided it would be easier to do them first. But we can also clean them up a little bit afterwards. This isn't going to be a real big S-bend, just enough to give it a stronger base so it isn't tippy. Make sure you like that. Now I'm going to turn it around and do the other side. I'm going to go ahead and put my touch mark right there while I'm at this point. Now this is a little bit off here, so I'm going to straighten that before I do anything else. And that means I'll definitely need to look at that candle cup before we're done to make sure it's not crushed. I think it's a good idea to look at all of them before we're done to make sure they aren't crushed. And of course, this is bowing up from underneath, so it doesn't sit flat, so we need to flatten all that. That sets much better. And it's just a good idea to look at every single one of these depressions and make sure you're still happy with them. I already fixed some of these down here after I did that end. This is another reason for cleaning these up with a drill bit. You clamp it to the drill press table and make sure your drill is straight up and down, and that will guarantee the candles stand up and don't look drunk. But essentially, except for that drilling, we are done. Well, here we have a very unique and very different, probably one of a kind, menorah. Although I have been told since I started this project that while the 9-candle version is typically referred to as a menorah, it technically has a different name that I can't remember right now. But in any case, you kind of get the idea. So I hope that anybody who is celebrating Hanukkah appreciates this project. It was a lot of fun. It was something completely different, and I'm glad I could do something to honor that tradition as well. Remember, here on YouTube, we have a global community. We have people watching this channel from all over the world, all different religions, all different backgrounds, all different cultures. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody is welcome here. So I'm glad that I can do something that deviates from my own personal tradition a little bit. And I also now know a little bit more about menorahs than I did this morning. So I hope you enjoyed that project. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button. Then make time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, but stay safe. Wear your safety glasses. Have a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and a joyous holiday regardless of which holiday you're celebrating this year.